So you have an awesome action figure collection and you're looking for ideas on how to display it. I'm going to share my collection with you and show you the ideas that I use to display it. As a kid, I got to experience Star Wars firsthand. Kenner produced a line of toys that included figures, vehicles, and playsets. My brother and I spent countless hours playing with these toys in our childhood. Flash forward to the late 90s, and my kids got to experience Star Wars Euphoria with the re release of the original trilogy in theaters. My kids grew up with Hasbro's Star Wars line that included figures, vehicles, and playsets. A few years ago, I decided it would be fun to start collecting Star Wars figures with my now adult kids. I still have a few of my Kenner figures from my childhood, but I decided to focus on the Power of the Force collection. It still is readily available without taking out a second mortgage on your house, and it's a way for me to bond with my children. Once you start collecting, it's fun to be able to display your collection. I wanted to share my collection and a few ideas that I'm using to display it. I chose to display my carded figures in my box sets as though they were in a store for sale. I remember walking down the Star Wars aisle when I was a kid and the euphoric feeling I felt at all of the possibilities. My wife used her Cricut to create the logos from the Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back that you see. So with my loose vehicles, I just set them on a shelf and I use loose figures to create a diorama to help tell the story. Looks like the rebels might be planning some sort of offensive here. Another way to display your loose vehicles and figures is to create a diorama. I built this diorama out of foam and craft paint. It represents Echo Base. It's a great way for me to display my Hoth figures from The Empire Strikes Back. So this is my Jabba's Palace diorama that I built. I built it to fit into the top shelf. I took the middle divider out of an IKEA bookshelf. And so I was kind of pressed for space, but I wanted to get the stairs in where Leia in disguise brought Chewbacca down into Jabba's chamber. That's a Jabba that had some custom paint work done to it. It still needs a wash to kind of slime and dirty him up. The throne was hand built. The rotisserie was scratch built as well, and did all this work over a weekend. This was a idea on a Friday night, and this is where we ended up on Sunday afternoon. We did a bunch of custom lighting in this one, bunch of custom paint work. Let me kick the lights off in here so you can really get the effect. But Jabba's prize on the wall with Captain Solo and Carbonite turned out pretty cool. I really like this one. This is a great way to display a bunch of loose figures. So I saw this stand online and I decided to build a replica of it. It's just built with some MDF and some craft paint, but it's a cool way to display your loose figures. I just got Empire Strikes Back figures on here, but this is a pretty cool way to display your loose figures and always be able to change it up. Okay, this is one of the first things that I built. This is a landing platform at Bespin, and let me find the light switch here. The platform lights up. It's kind of cool. It's got some painting here for landing. I can stage it with Boba Fett. And Slave One. I can stage it with the Millennium Falcon. I'll do that here shortly. But this one's kind of cool to stage. I'd like to do something back here along the wall that kind of looks a little more transitioning. Maybe a blast door, that kind of stuff. But it's kind of fun to start telling the story here. This is a Slave One. This is one of the very first paint jobs I did. It didn't turn out quite as I'd hoped. It's okay, but I'm going to redo that at some point. It's a little too 70s motorcycle-y for me, but I still like it, to be honest. So here you can see the Bespin landing platform stage with the Millennium Falcon. Now this Falcon, I did a bunch of custom work to. I added the landing lights. I added the lights in the cockpit. It has a total custom paint job. I replaced the stickers back here on the engines with grates that were 3D printed. I added the battle damage here and did the custom paint work. The gun on top, the original, was too big. It looked like a toy, so I removed it, 3D printed a new one at 70% scale. It looks awesome. It fits it so much better. So this was a playset that I found at a thrift store. We reimagined it. I believe it was a Batman playset. Reimagined it into a Imperial base, maybe a hangar on the Death Star. Got a couple of TIE fighters, bunch of Royal Guard. You can see that the Emperor, Grand Moff Tarkin are both there. Darth Vader's up on the top. So this is another cool way to display loose figures. Well, that's it for my collection, guys. You see that I like to use dioramas to display all of my loose stuff. All of my carded stuff I love to display like it was in a store just like when I was a kid. Hopefully this sparks some ideas for you. Thanks for watching.